Welcome to today's Tech and Career Talk, sponsored by BDPA and partnered with Vanguard Consulting Group, LLC, and net.America. My name is Akil Bektimba. I'm filling in for Devin Jenkins, who is the Tech and Career Talk leader for BDPA. He should be on shortly, but we're going to go ahead and get started so that we can get you guys into this conversation and this great subject and with our great guest. Just a little bit about BDPA. BDPA is an international organization with diverse membership of professionals and students at all levels in the fields of information technology, computer science, and related STEM fields. And so this national organization is a fantastic partner for us, and we're working with them to do quite a bit in the workforce development and apprenticeship field. Today, I am very excited to be presenting with you with my colleague, Amara Tennessee. And we're going to kick this informational conversation off about the importance of accessing Web3 blockchain opportunities through workforce development and apprenticeship. We'll also be discussing the possibilities of expanding registered apprenticeship programs in the related areas and increasing the numbers of minorities being involved or getting involved in the field. We are very, very thankful for having Mr. Dontrail Felton of Apex Strategies with us today and representing the culture in the areas of Web3, blockchain, and growth in the IT industry. Little housekeeping before we get started, before I let my partners jump on here. Throughout today's Tech and Career Talk, we will field as many questions and answers as time allows. So please get involved, get engaged, and plug in your questions and comments in the chat box. It'll be monitored throughout the conversation. So let me start by saying good morning to Dontrail and Amara. How you guys doing?
Good morning. Super excited to be here.
Good morning. Good morning. So before we get started, let's just introduce everybody. I introduced myself already. We'll introduce our guest first, Dontrail Felton, and Amara, you can tell us a little bit about yourself also. Dontrail.
Okay. We'll start with me.
You're right.
All right. So, how you doing? Good morning. My name is Dontrail Felton. I am a consultant in the Web3 space. I also work in the electrical industry as a consultant as well. More so dealing with labor relations, training, working with unions and things along that nature. But today is a great day for this conversation because I'm also at the intersection of both of those two fields, and where most people don't see there's overlap, there's a lot of potential for workforce development, what the future of work looks like, and innovation from just your average blue collar person. So it's nice meeting y'all. We've talked a couple of times, but it's good to get the show going.
No, all good, man. It's great to have you. Before we jump into the conversation, my colleague Amara, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Really excited to be here and have this conversation about Web3 and blockchain opportunities. Vanguard Consulting Group, I've been with them for a few years and loving working in the workforce development space and seeing all the opportunities that we can create and promote. So really excited to have this conversation and learn more about some of the additional opportunities.
Cool. So Dontrail, let's jump into it. I am from our previous conversations and things that we've talked about before. I am waiting and so interested in how did you get into Web3 and blockchain? Like tell us a little bit about your journey, where you started, where you're from. I know you're from Miami. Where you started, where you're from, and how did you kind of journey to getting to where you are right now?
Okay, so yeah, I'll start from the beginning because I think this is the first time I've really truly had the time to explain it. So I am a Miami citizen, native, true, born and raised, always been here, plan on being here as long as I need to be. My family ranges from down south in Paran to Coconut Grove, all the way up into Broward, and Fort Lauderdale areas. So this is all I know. I lived in Liberty City, which is everybody's familiar with that. That's where Muhammad Ali and Martin Luther King, this is the area that they will come to when they came in town. So I'm from there originally, but I moved to Miami Gardens, which everybody knows for the Hard Rock Stadium, St. Thomas University, Florida Memorial, and so on. So I've had a full Miami Black experience from the top to the bottom. So I'm kind of accustomed with everybody in the city. So that was always a cool thing. But, fast forward a little bit, in high school, I was presented with an opportunity to work with Florida Power and Light as an electrical lineman. They were at a point where their workforce was so depleted that they had no other options but to turn to the community, and they came to schools with a 2-year program that would teach you how to be ready for a line work apprenticeship job as soon as you turn 18. So I remember being asleep in class. Actually, I was asleep, and I heard on the announcement make $27 an hour, and this was 2005. So I'm like, you know what, my mom makes somewhere around there, and we do all right. If I had that at 18, I'd be balling. So yeah. I didn't even know what line work was, but I got up and I ran down to the office and I said, yo, what was that program? I need to be a part of that. Because I was thinking about being a firefighter. So I like that might be the one right there. So okay. They eventually came to the school and they talked to all the 10th graders. Only a few actually came out and only a few made it. I still actually have friends in the company now that's still there doing well. And that led me on my journey to, I guess, being an electrician, but we call it line work for sure. And from there, I had my ups and downs, being a young man and being a part of a huge company with so many other cultures where we're not necessarily represented. You have to learn how to navigate that and not just doing your job good or great. It's also how to deal with men. Sometimes just being a man and coming in another man's space, that's a whole life lesson alone, Absolutely. So, I had to understand how being a young, Black, very confident person and coming into a field that is not so much Black and how to, but I always felt comfortable. The unions always do their best to make you feel comfortable, but there's always individuals, and these people are from anywhere. And I'm from a big city to where color doesn't play a part in my day-to-day like that. So I'm not used to actually seeing what racism actually looks like in person, outside of what we may go through with police and just some of the lighter stuff that you deal with. But seeing somebody that really might hate you, that was a new thing, or not seeing it really. So that led me to, and I take full ownership. I did very good in that program, but I didn't know how to study. And it's not that I didn't understand it. How testing is made for trades is we're not looking for D students. We're looking for B and up students because you have to be capable. And my physical skill level would always get me there. So I would never take studying as serious as I could because I got the concept. But there's a difference between saying, hey son, go over there and dig 6 feet over there. And the guidelines say 6.25.
Right.
I kind of picked up some of those bad habits, being really, really good, not thinking I need to know the books. And it led to not being able to fully progress in overhead line work, but that was a blessing in disguise because I got to experience not only underground and, some of the customer service sides, but I got to go into logistics. I got to go into the management side. And I had a area manager, Graham Harris, Black guy as well. He took me in when, like I said, I went through some rough patches with the company. Nobody would. Said, I'm helping you. And he allowed me to do a lot of professional development classes the company offered because I was the only one asked. Nobody in the union ever thought to take professional classes or upskill. It just didn't apply. A lot of times the union guys are making more money than the management guys. So they're not looking to go take a 5-day class at the
Right.
corporate where we have our life the way we like it, and I'm fine with who I am.
Mhm.
But I wasn't fine where I was. So I had all the knowledge from being in the union, but I wanted to do more. So I started taking it, and that led me to Six Sigma. And Six Sigma opened my eyes to how to find a problem, solve a problem, and really show how you solve that problem. What are the deliverables? What are the outcomes? Can you save $1 billion company 3% with your idea? And what does that mean to me? I started getting
And that
introduced to
3% could be a huge number depending on the
Wow.
company. Yeah.
Exactly. But before we get so financially educated, you think, well, I got $1,000, 3% is this. I ain't thinking about it. I'm thinking
Right.
about a company when billions of dollars of revenue, and you're saving them, 0.75% by improving their process, and that can all go to you as a consultant or to your product you created. So I always had that in the back of my mind. Now we're going to jump a little bit more forward. Here we are at the pandemic. I'm about to top out all the life lessons I've learned about how to navigate and be a great worker, and all of this stuff is finally come to a head. I'm about to be underground splice.
Okay.
That's more of a technical version of what line work is, but we do everything underground. So in New York, you don't see poles or power lines because everything's
Right.
underground. So it's that version of alignment. And unfortunately, an accident happened, freak accident. And that put me out of commission to where it was nearly fatal, but just so happened I got out of the truck at the right time. But the truck caught on fire. It got all over me. I was able to stop, drop, and roll, hurt my back. And I can laugh about this now, but it was crazy. It's like I am in a fireball right now. But
Wow.
I got past that. This is pandemic time. I always traded, as retail before it was popular to do. So I had just started to get good. And when I was home and I wasn't able to go back, that work is very rigorous. Like with that kind of back injury I had, this probably has shortened my career, even if I'm able to go back. And I started trading. It was the right time, right in the bull run for stocks and crypto.
It's amazing that, just kind of hearing even that portion of the story, and I want you to keep going. But hearing that portion of the story, just to have kind of the foresight to get involved in some of those other trainings and upskilling yourself in areas that, even if they didn't directly impact or directly apply to what you were doing at the moment, you had kind of this ambition and this vision of what was to go forward. I actually worked. I have a small relatable story to that, in that I worked as a meter reader, and this is way back in probably this is way back. I'm going to show my age here, but it was way back in like 95.
That's real. So
yeah, so for PG&E, which is a huge utility company in California, and there were gentlemen, there were guys, union guys and guys there that had been doing that same job. I did it as a college summer job, and they were doing it for 28, 30 years, and I just wondered how what's going to happen when you physically can't jump over these fences and you can't get climb around and walk these miles and do all this kind of stuff. What are you going to do next? And so hearing you talk about the fact that you had this foresight, that not even knowing that this accident was going to happen, not knowing that these other things are going to happen, or that you were going to be making this transition. It's really cool to, and I think that, kind of a takeaway for people that's listening to this, especially younger folks that are listening to this, this session today, that upskilling is key. And you can do it on your own. You can do it through, your company, you can do it, but just to kind of put yourself in a position that if something happens where you physically can't do what you're doing, you have some other ways to go and some other directions to go. So I commend you for having that hustle and having that kind of mind state to go into these other areas. So now you're at the point where, you know, that part of it is kind of coming to a close, but you upskilled on Six Sigma. You did these management training classes. You got these other areas, and now you've gotten into the investing during the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit? Because a lot of people still don't know where that relates, right? What kind of investing was it? How is it related to our topic today with Web3 and blockchain? So kind of take us into that.
Okay, so even taking your comment and going where I'm leading, so naturally, and I think we should always encourage our kids. Like, I was always naturally curious. My dad put me on to like the Discovery Channel when I was young, so I would always be interested in these random science topics, no matter what they were. And as you study more into it, you learn more about the nuance of dinosaurs or whatever the case may be. And I never fought that. I never understood it at first, because me and my friends were joking, like, yo, I know all the random facts. Like, I'm like Google. Like, you can ask me about anything because I just take it all, in mentally. And I never knew why, but I would always, take that same approach to learning tasks. Like, I want to know why. What does this do? What makes this do this? And I didn't know I had an engineer's mind, because I wasn't in an environment for somebody to tell me that, hey, you're an engineer or you should be an engineer. The way you approach things. It's just, this is how I break things down. I like to break it all the way down so I can know what I can do with every part of it. So that leads me to trading, where, fundamental analysis, most people tend to stick to that because it's what you're reading it, you're getting some other people's opinions and all of that. And then they call it technical analysis. They call that astrology for men. So it's something we get so invested in because you have to be a little bit more sharper, and you got to understand world news and how things cycle. You have to remember this and that. So that side of trading attracted me because you can pretty much see a company's roadmap of what they're going to do based on the decisions they're going to make, and always be ready. So I made some good money with that, with, of course, the Apples, the Teslas, and everybody. And I started to recognize some patterns with Bitcoin. So I'm like, well, this looks like it's about to break out. It was about at $10,000, and I just started putting money in at $10,000. And that was the winter where Bitcoin really broke past 20. So now I'm taking this ride with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, and all these companies. I don't really know too much about crypto besides what the general thing that it can do is with an alternative asset or source of currency. But I'm killing the charts because the charts are not manipulated the same as the regular market. So it's just like clear as day. And I didn't have any points to kind of jump the gun on. So I'm like, well, how do I find out about that? So I started to find out about white papers. And I went to my mom, let me go, allow me to go to, let me go like I'm a kid. She provided a source to get tickets to Emerge, and I went to Emerge, and I got to see Web3 and crypto and renewable energy businesses in front of my eyes, and it's just like, I know what I could do there, and I know how to improve that, and I know how this would work, and I know what company would take that, and it just dawned on me. It's like, man, my expertise that I gained just being a technical worker, hands-on, in the field type of guy, but with my natural ability just to want to learn and add on, I created an opportunity for me to find where's the goal in the middle of these fields. So where at what point does the electrical industry and Web3 intersect? I'm there now, and I can be an expert at both. So that got me to just dive straight into Web3 full force, no holding back. Where's my next spot? What do I need to learn?
So by definition, just for us laymen that don't know exactly what Web3 and blockchain is, can you give us kind of a breakdown on what it is? I know you spoke about the investing portion of it and understand and what you did in crypto and what you did in some of these areas investing. But what exactly if I was to go and tell someone, I had this conversation with Dontrail today, about Web3 and blockchain. They said, "What is that?" What do I tell them?
Right. So, okay. So now, and again, I want people to understand you do not have to be an expert in every part of this. You just need to understand the general concepts and then find a place for you to get in. A lot of people
Right.
could be marketing, you or tech sales, like just come in because this is the time to learn. But essentially, blockchain is one type actually, because there's different types, but it's a decentralized ledger, meaning all of the information, no matter what the transactions are, we don't have to get deep into it, but they're not stored at one central location. So I taught at the college and related them like this, like the United States. We all have states with representatives that are here to help us come to one consensus in what direction we want the country to go in. That's the blockchain concept, that we don't have a king. And it's not one source where one idea is coming and we all have to agree with it. Web 2.0, which is what we're in now, all the servers are owned by the companies. So if Google wants to cut us off, or if they want to take some of our data or do anything, we don't have any leverage because we might be a content creator, but we're on your product, but you own everything on the back. I don't know what my numbers are, really doing, like if I'm streaming or all these different avenues. So Web3 is utilizing blockchain technology to just decentralize all of that. Like nobody owns where the data is stored. You own everything. If you're a YouTuber, YouTube can't tell you, I don't like this type of content. You have to take it down. Nope. It's decentralized. The server is spread amongst everyone's computer. And if we all agree that we want to live in a place to where like we agree on what can happen and can't happen, and outside of that, nobody can bend the rules or use it against us, then that's what we agree on. So let me wrap that up and kind of pack that a little bit easier. Web3 is the next phase of the internet where we own everything we put on the internet. And this is a great opportunity for everybody. And for companies, it's a new way to streamline and implement other technologies that will give their businesses a facelift. So if you're that person, maybe a content creator or whatever, you're really going to make all the money that your content generates. And
I promise. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, small business trying to compete with the big dogs, everything's about to change so much that if your plan is the right plan, you might be the. We don't know if Google's going to exist. I mean, it's a good chance that we will, but it's just that much disruption in this space.
So I promise this is not a rhetorical question. It may sound like it, but so how do you foresee this impacting the world in general? Obviously, the ownership piece is huge, and being able to position ourselves to maneuver and to implement technologies and doing these things, even as small players in a big world. How do you see this kind of generally impacting kind of the world as we know it as we move forward?
As a user or just a typical residential consumer, whatever the case may be, you have some of your leverage for that. So imagine living in a world where, yes, you sign up for the Publix and the Winn-Dixie and Sam's card, and they want you for the data, but them having really get you for the data. Maybe even paying you for your data and allowing that to be collected and stored as a separate source of income, to where every piece of data that was already being harvested when you typed your number in at the gas pump and all of this, now it's flipped. Now you have control over what kind of data you let out, and they have to pay you. So what does that look like? What if that translates to $350 a month? From just all of that data you control that you're willing to let out. What about your specific medical data that now you have control over, and when you want it to be a part of a study, it's a part of a study, not when it's either done on the back end or you sign off on it, but you're not properly compensated for how valuable your
wow.
like even
Henrietta Lack didn't have that back in the day, right? When they used their cells to create all the medicines that we know about. So that's an amazing power there. I
The
think I'm all,
autonomy is important.
yes.
So in a little bit of a shift of conversation, I want to talk, Dontrail, about what you're doing now. So let's talk a little bit about Apex strategies and the work that you're doing in the field.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, that actually gets us to where we catch up and roundabout with the story. So at that point in time, I started signing up for boot camps, figuring out where my space would be. I entered into a hackathon. I work with this team of people from all over the place. We win, so that lets me see that okay, there's a space for an idea person to actually kind of find a product to just get funded, get tests, all of this while meeting different people who can help you along the way. And then Mayor Suarez has a hackathon, and I enter that, and I'm all like, I'm ready to go. Like I'm like Mike Tyson. Like you know what? This is proving grounds. This is the next phase of my life, and I'm going that, and my idea wins first prize. And after that, I'm on to something because now I have lawyers calling me about, is it made yet? Can we use it already? Who are you working with? And and the reason I highlight lawyers is because they know the legal side of it. So if they're like, this is something big, this might be something big. So again, here I am, maybe not with all the right resources of trying to figure out how to do business in this space. So I'm presented with two things. So what we do at Apex is we help companies figure out what that roadmap into Web3 looks like. What's actionable right now as far as what do we need to learn or what can we implement right away? Mm-hmm. And what does my field have on its horizon as far as technology and possibilities? So I help companies navigate that as, for sure more of the electrical companies because I have more of my nuanced knowledge there. But in general sense, it's so early, you still have work to do just figuring out what the technology is and how can it generally be applied. So I help there. And what I can do special is, as pertaining to your workforce, I understand their language completely. I know they in between the trucks. I know what they say in the meetings. I know what you present to them, what they like, what they don't like, and I know why, because I was one of the guys for 17 years. So I'm able to help you not only pick the right training methods based on what the outcomes are, but I can also help you, see how like some of the new things you want to implement, give you the foresight to say, well, they're not going to like this because their contract, how their contract is, or based on how their organization is ran structurally, or just from a higher level, like their set of guidelines. It's like, no, they're going to be against that because you bring it in a technology that's going to replace people without a plan for people to transition. Now, if you can work that technology into maybe a new job or something that they can take on and learn and be ready for, now you come into them with a present instead of gloom and doom of my job is about to change forever and I'm not going to have it. And how are you going to properly test that when they don't have any buy-in? So that's another thing. Is like creating buy-in for this new technology is important.
So we have a couple comments in the chat box that I'm going to throw in here. The first one is please come back to the topic of adapting to workplace culture and being effective at some point. Oh, there it is. Are there any specifics or ways of thinking about it you found useful?
So please come back to the topic. Okay. I mean, you're speaking about it in terms of like when I was transitioning in the company and taking on the, like the upskilling initiatives.
Yeah, so he's talking specifically about the topic of adapting to workplace culture and being effective. Okay. And then are there some specifics that you can share that you found useful?
Definitely. So like I said, I'm 34 now. And if you told me to go in any environment, in any country, any community, I already know how to navigate a situation just from a general aspect of let me watch first.
Right.
Let me see what's the right flow of things and see how do I fit in here. You know, I don't have to become a sheep for this company,
Right.
but let me be net positive in approach instead of, you know, letting my personality take over, or, you know, I might be coming into a hostile environment. You know, let me figure that out. So at 18, this is not something, you know, because the jobs you have, they're all people your age. Y'all probably kick it anyway. It's probably somebody who looks just like you, somebody from high school or a school nearby. It's totally different from going into a job at 18 with the average work. I think the average age of the workforce is like 50. You know, totally different. And I've never had to look it up, but I can almost tell you, black linemen, I would say, are south of 15% of linemen. Easily, and it's being very, very, very generous. Very, very generous. And a lot of them are from places to where, and I'll say this as well, we have our perception of certain people by how they talk and how they look. And now at this age, I know I'm either right or wrong about it. Back then, you might just say, oh, no, all of them are like that. Or you might even say, oh, that's something from the past. So just even being able to navigate that, like who's for you and who's against you. You know, like
that's huge skill right there. And thanks, Craig, from Shift for that question. There's another question here for you. As an individual, where do you store your blockchain data on the blockchain to share with the world?
So,
that was from Ken Reeves.
Okay, now here's my stance on this. A lot of the hardcore blockchain, crypto, Web3 people want everything to be just straight up, I guard my identity with my life, and we're going to do transactions, and you can't tax my money. And understanding the world we live in, that's not going to be realistic, 100%. But I think it needs to be some of that to where the things you want to have, maybe like your wealth and certain things, self-governed or whatever we all eventually agree on after regulations. But there is some part of you that is still front facing to the government and people you have to deal with that we have to verify who you are. And I think when this technology gets adapted, it's going to be personal use side of things, and there's going to be a governmental or something obligations that you got to have to the country or your community or whatever, to where you can say, hey, I am a Killback Timber. This is my face. This is where I've worked at. This is my track record. So when you send me this 1,500 ETH, there's somebody to blame if something goes wrong. And then there's going to be things that you want to do where it's like, yo, that's none of the government's business. So me personally, I'm going to be diversified in that sense where I'm going to have things that are going to make it easy for me to do business and live my life as a normal citizen. But I'm going to store in blockchain protocols where it can be completely private and protected. But it's so many protocols now that can be anybody because these companies have to make it through. So something like a high level decision like that for the long term, it's kind of hard to make that now because you got to see who's going to be around.
That's perfect. We have another question. Devin Jenkins from BDPA asks, what's your take on NFTs and how beneficial or not are they for wealth creation?
This is a great question. This is I'm kind of at the intersection again. So I was an artist, made music, did everything, all of that stuff for years. That is going to change the game for that. How it was presented to us as a way to just put money in and then money comes out, that was already set up to fail from the start. And unfortunately, a lot of people lost the momentum they have for it, but trust me, there's business use cases for NFTs that are going to be game changers. There's arts and entertainment that are going to be game changers. I just went to East Denver. You signed in with your wallet everywhere you went collecting NFTs because that's further proof of things you need to do later. So keeping your community engaged as an artist. Imagine selling an album, but the album's roadmap is 3 to 6 months that you're able to engage. Somebody like me, if I know I'm getting custom sweater, this private session, I'm going to be a part of that. So that's how we need to look at NFTs, not just what they tell us is valuable and then buying that and then holding it until value either goes up and down. We need to start thinking about how to create value with the technology.
Wow, that makes sense.
That's very interesting. Definitely a lot to take in. It sounds like there are a lot of systems that are working together. And in that spirit, we've recently had the opportunity to begin our collaboration on developing registered apprenticeship programs in the IT space, particularly in data science and cybersecurity. So Dontrail, do you see apprenticeship opportunities related to what you're doing in the Web3 blockchain space?
Yes, and actually the app that I'm working on is built for these types of use cases, whether it's in the electrical industry, but still touching in the aspects of training. So my project turns your apprenticeship or any of your credentials into NFTs for you to keep with you forever. So an electrical lineman might live in Florida one day and be in Oregon the next day. You have to keep up with everything you're capable of doing. It has to be verifiable. There's a lot of fraud, a lot of fake. We just saw that 1,500 nurses receive fake.
Yes.
Right. So, you know, and of course, everybody's thinking, well, yeah, I'm going to put it on the blockchain. But no, it has to further serve the company deeper. So what we're doing is a training system that tracks all of these high-level credentials, stores them in a wallet, helps the company keep access to these to protect them from OSHA fines and all of the things that come with that for, you know, being late with reestablishing the credentials or whatnot. The worker gets to keep all real proof signed to the company that I've been a lineman here, I have CPR, I've had a history of doing this. And the cool thing we're doing with that is carrying those skills to other jobs that might make sense for that person. So you might have been in, like myself, I was in union leadership for years. A lot of people say that helps me be a great project manager. So where I'm only looking for a union job, there might be some kind of labor relations job available for me here that I never would have thought of. But our AI and machine learning tech is already going to put that together and match that, which all of your upskilling initiatives, it adds on to your profile. If you add coding, now you know line work, coding, this, that, and we're able to deliver these people around, but it serves everybody. So you can't just make a technology that serves one person and then expect the other party to be on board with it. Because you know, the workers would say, well, why do I want to be tracked? It's like,
Right.
What led you to better opportunities? Okay, well, go ahead. Let's do that.
Well, and I think that to that point, there seems to be, you know, I don't think that people put enough credit onto transferable skills, right? Because that's kind of what you're saying, that, you know, no matter what area that you are currently working in or that you've been working in, there's some skill sets and some skills that you have that are easily transferable, and maybe some require some additional training, but they can be transferred into other areas. You going from electrical work to going into what you're doing now, you know, obviously a lot of your transferable skills was your own ambition. You're looking at these other, you know, pieces of the puzzle in an analytical way and how you can put these things together and move forward. I'm wondering just kind of if I'm a nurse, or if I'm a, you know, I don't think of 100 different occupations, and I want to get into the blockchain and Web3 space. What kind of, you know, besides some of the ones we just mentioned, what are some other maybe transferable skills that people can say, you know what, this was an interesting conversation. I think I want to look more into this, and what do I have to bring to the table? What are some kind of basic ones that you think might be, you know, that we could list that fits that?
So at a core, any sales skills, any leadership roles where you know that you manage multiple people, you're a great communicator of the workflow, like Those are just the basic skills of like every company has sales. Every company needs leaders. So the good thing about, the people that we have in the medical space, we're usually doing a lot of the harder work in the in and out and the nuance and seeing like it might be a situation where like 12% of medicine gets lost in between transactions because people might be stealing it or whatever the case may be. Creating a tracking system with NFTs or with I can go into all these different products, but using that's a Web3 facing approach. Not only are you introducing that to the company, now this is your one chance in life to be the owner of that company that solves that 12% problem that might cost billions of dollars globally. So you being able to take on that 1% globally by all the work you put in for the last 10, 15 years, only you know that. There's no coder, there's no programmer, there's no Web3 person that did your job for 20 years. All they have the technology runs. So this is the opportunity. So what we need to teach ourselves, not just to be the implementers, like everybody learn coding because we need to learn how it works. But let's not ourselves up to be what the next iteration of blue collar workers is only, where we're only the ones coding. How about we learn how to code to bring some of these high level ideas and innovations to the table, so we're birthing multimillionaires and billionaires that can really go something in their community and hire locally and whatever they want to be. Like this is that opportunity. So your background is your background. You already have the skills. Trucking, you work in a warehouse, you know the ins and outs.
There you go.
Figure out what this tech can do and figure out how you can apply it.
I love it. And it makes me think kind of as a good transition with even just that, you talked a little bit about the fact that, 50% was very generous as far as Black linemen, right? And folks in that field that are Black. Obviously, the disparity of Black professionals in IT, in computer science fields, in, I'm sure blockchain and Web3 is probably a significant disparity as well. What would you say, or what would you think we can do to kind of confront this reality and change and provide additional opportunities for Black folks to get involved with it?
So I mentioned earlier about like how my dad introduced the concept of watching science and history at an early age, which spiraled on to the skill sets that I, even though I went through my ups and downs, that one piece allowed me to just say, go explore, figure out, be curious, learn about things that may not matter to you right now. If we can start by getting our kids early to think like innovators and to think like founders or brick and mortar owners, but without the dollar for dollar mindset, how to really run, how to really solve logistical problems effectively. If we could start that at the core, we wouldn't have a problem in this space because, again, this is a very liberal space to where everybody's kind of accepting. There's only a whole bunch of white guys and Asian guys there because this is something that they want to do from early, so they're already tested. And by the time a boot camp comes, and they say, okay, well, set up Python on your computer in the command line, you're asking, what is a command line?
Right.
That's where I'm like, okay, well, how do you do that? And then now I spent weeks trying to get my computer set up to learn how to code. So this is like weeks before I even type the line of code, which is already aggravating. So how many people have enough ambition to spend 4 weeks trying to start the lesson? Not everybody. You didn't have to have that much ambition. So we have to.
And it's like exposure is key, right? Exposure is key as well, because, a lot of communities none of this is completely foreign, right? As even a thing for a lot of communities. And, I think where some of the places where you from, I think when, that you shared with us earlier, dropping this as, this is something that you guys could do or something that you can be a factor in is key important concept. And I know that net.America has done some STEM programs, and we've done, other of our partners have done some STEM, and I know some organizations that really address STEM on the younger, even like from 5 and up. So I think that your point about, kind of exposure and then that curiosity, and really feeding that curiosity is key, because we have I think we have some future geniuses out there that know, that have a propensity for it and can start to, put it together. So that I commend you and what you're doing on that. We do have another question, and I know we're coming to the end of this session, but we do have another question. I want to make sure everybody gets the question in. Dr. Robert Joseph from Team Mindshift also has a question that says, what are the downsides to being tracked? And what do you think is the balance of tracking versus non-tracking, to address what you were saying a little earlier?
So there's a lot of nuance with that, but I would say the major downside is not having a say in it and not benefiting from it. So that would change the game. Like, I don't think we would be complaining about what ads pop up if their systems implemented was to say, well, if I watch the whole ad, will you give me some money? You know what I'm saying? Because now I know I know you have all my demographic information. So what if I watch the whole ad? Can you give me some of that McDonald's money with you? Right. That's what we want to do when we do want to leverage being tracked. And then there's things that I don't want being tracked. If there's something that could be a threat to my life, or it's anything in that sense, I want to be able to operate that from a private space as well. So that's the upsides. The upsides are like, now that you'll be able to leverage what's being tracked. The downsides are, what we're living in now. Like, Google know everything about you. They claim they know you better than, so right. We're living in the downside. So the next transition over, if it's not leveraging our own data, then there is no upside. We just continue on in what we have now. So
makes sense. Well, man, I think this has been, I can't believe we're already 47 minutes in, because I feel like we could talk for another hour. But we're coming to the end of this session. Really, really appreciate all the information, the stories, the insight that you provided. Thank you, Amara, for your questions and participation. We're going to bring Devin Jenkins from BDPA back in here, and we're going to close this out. But before we do that, are there any other messages you want to give out to the people? What do you have going on? What do you have coming up? I know if anybody checks your LinkedIn, you are a busy man, and you have quite a bit going on. So we're very fortunate to have you today. So give us what's coming up. What should we be looking out for, and what do you think we should be, where we should be paying attention to in regard to Web3 and blockchain?
It's simple. I think starting with Florida Memorial, March 25th through 26th, we have our hackathon there. That's going to be a very low barrier to entry hackathon. You don't need to know how to code. We're going to have volunteers there on site. We're just helping people get through the ideation phase. Like, how can I make a good idea with this technology? It's going to be cash prizes, job opportunities, all of that. So, that's how we approach it. I think I'm going to, maybe I'll announce it later, but I might kind of strengthen my ties with Florida Memorial, kind of navigate to the HBCU side of HBCU. So hopefully I have something on LinkedIn with that, announcing that. But just jumping directly in the community, using Miami Gardens as a springboard. I'm the Blacks in Tech president of Miami chapter, so getting everybody involved on a local level from here to Palm Beach. That's what we're working on. And yes, a lot of programs with the kids. Like, we want to get them ready early. Still opportunities for adults as well. So just follow me on all platforms. As much information I come across, I'm just giving it out,
And you talked about Florida a lot, and I know that's where your home base. And I promise you, I'm not stalking you, but right. I know you're doing some stuff in Denver too, right?
Yeah, so I just came from the Eve Denver conference, so that was me just kind of seeing, the lay of the land, figuring out what's next for the enterprise side of blockchain and how can we implement. I know, Brickell's right down the street, so if the big money ain't bought in yet, then this is going to take a little bit longer. So, what do they need? What do the big time realtors need? FinTech, So just seeing what that landscape was, and also looking for educational resources and connecting with companies. So that was a great conference for everybody on all levels. So I would say attend that next year. But look at one of these conferences anywhere. They're all over the world. You know, pick a place you always wanted to be to have ETH Global Paris. If you always want to go to Paris, just knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. Get out there.
Perfect. I think that's great. And thanks again for your time. I'm going to pass it on to Devin, but I look forward to talking to you again very soon and us doing some work together. So appreciate you. Devin, you're up.
Thank you, Akil, and thank you, Dontrail, for sharing with us today. This has definitely been a great conversation and a timely one that's relevant in today's age and where technology is and continues to head. So thank you all for joining us today. I'm usually here at the beginning, but I was in a call with my manager that I could not get out of to get here in time, but I knew you were in good hands with Akil and Lamar. So thank you as always for joining our BDPA Tech and Career Talks. We'll be back with even more conversations than we've done in the past in partnership with Vanguard and net.America. So I'm excited to continue this partnership around apprenticeships and workforce development and continuing to have these conversations around technology and seeing technology leaders who look like us and who are allies for us and making sure that we continue to move forward the mantra of BDPA, which is advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. So since I didn't do my spiel in the beginning, I will just say if you are a first timer, BDPA is Black Data Processing Associates. We've been around since 1975, developing careers in computer programming skills in youth, as well as being a forum for networking and professional development for those who are in the IT field. So thank you for joining us. We have our Tech and Career Talks second and fourth Friday of each month. So we'll be back here pretty soon with another speaker to keep the energy going. But if you look in the comments, you'll see a link for the Tech and Career Talks. So bdpa.org/Tech and Career Talks. We have our recordings from all of our previous talks listed on there. This one will be out there as well pretty soon, and also on our YouTube channel, which is National BDPA. So make sure you go out there and subscribe. I also have the link for our national conference, which is coming up in Atlanta in August. So make sure you register for BDPA Con 23. It will be a treat. You don't want to miss it. I also see a link out there for Vanguard to make sure you connect with Vanguard Consulting Group, LLC. And I saw another one that I think was net.America. So I want to make sure everybody gets the love. Make sure you connect with everyone you've seen today. We're all doing great things and we're stronger together. So thank you for joining. Akil, Lamar, I'll turn it back over to you to close out.
Thank you so much. And thank you again to Dontrail. Thank you, Devin, for the platform. We are very excited to have the partnership with BDPA, definitely our partnership with net.America. And let's keep doing this, man. This is fantastic. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.